This video will focus on entering email addresses to new messages and using the available address books to make this process easy and efficient. First, let's open up a new email message. With the new message open, the cursor is pre-located in the To box, so you can start adding addresses immediately. The simplest way to start adding an address is to type the person's last name. The global address list contains all CMU employees and students and is sorted by last name. Outlook offers a feature called automatic name checking, or auto-resolution, which can help narrow down the address list, or in the case of unique names, automatically choose the correct person. Once you type in a name, Outlook starts to look in the first address book defined in the search order, which by default is the global address list. Then it moves on to each address book in order. If it cannot locate an address with that name, or there are many addresses with that name, Outlook will show a red squiggly line underneath the name to indicate that it could not find a unique address for the entered name. For example, suppose I want to send an email message to Jeremy Smith. In the To box, I type Smith. If I move on to CC or subject or even begin typing the message, I may see a red squiggly line appear under the name Smith. This means that Outlook cannot identify the exact address I want to send to, because in this case there are several people with that last name. At this point, I click the Check Names button or press Ctrl-K. A window appears showing every user with the last name of Smith contained in the global address list. Just double-click the correct name, and the address will be returned to the new message window, and the name will appear underlined, indicating Outlook knows the address for this user. Alternately, you can right-click on the name and choose from the list of names. If the correct name is not shown, click More, and again, the Check Names dialog box will appear from which you can select the correct name. Regarding the automatic searching of each address book, this process will work until one or more matches are found in a given book. Then it stops and offers those matches to select from. If those matches do not contain the address desired, you have to take steps to move to a different book. This next example will illustrate this concept. Currently, the global address list is set to be searched first when addressing. My CMU address is twatson@coloradomesa.edu, and my name is recorded as Thomas Watson. In my Contacts folder, I have two different personal email addresses for myself. They are twatson@bresnan.net, and my name is recorded as tfwatson, and twatson@live.com with my name recorded as Tom Watson. Now I'm going to address a message to my personal Bresnan account. So I've started the message, and I'll type Watson. I click Check Names, and the Check Names dialog box appears. It turns out there are many addresses for people with the last name of Watson. However, the list that is provided is displaying names only from the global address list. Since the correct address is not available, I then click Show More Names and choose my Contacts list, which contains my personal email accounts. Now the correct address is shown. So I click it and click OK, and the address is returned. There is a way to help Outlook search through each book and locate the correct address without having to select the exact book. If I were to type Watson, TF, and then click the Check Names button, watch what happens. There is no one in the global list named TF Watson, so Outlook moves on to the next book in the search order, which is the suggested contacts book, and it doesn't find anything there. So Outlook then moves on to my contacts list, and as there is one unique entry that matches, it enters the email address, twatson@bresnan.net. Based on these examples, I have found it best to alter the search order so that my personal contacts list is searched first. If you have lots of address books, approach the search order from smallest book to largest. Then, when addressing to contacts that are in the contacts list, the address is almost always found instantly. Let's see how to change our search order with this concept in mind. First, from the Home ribbon, click Address Book. The Address Book window will appear. Notice it has its own menu bar. In this menu bar, click Tools, then click Options. The Addressing dialog box will appear. Next, choose Custom, and alter the order so that the contacts list is first and the global address list is last. Click OK, and then close the address book window. Now let's see how this change affects addressing an email to a contact contained in my contacts list. In this example, I'm going to address this message to a contact at Apple named Aaron Greider. Keep in mind there are several students at CMU whose last name is Greider. Watch what happens when I type just the last name Greider into a new message and click Check Names. This time the contacts list is looked into first, and since only a single exact match exists, the address is populated. Perhaps at some point I might want to contact a student named Greider. To avoid having to use the address book window and switch between the different books, all I would need to do is type the last name followed by a character or two of their first name. For example, let's type Greider, E, and then click Check Names. We find two students that match. If I had intended to select Aaron Greider, I could have typed Greider, ER, and click Check Names. Let's summarize the concepts of addressing we've discussed so far. First, change the default search order so that the smallest address books are searched first, working to the global address book as the last. Second, enter names starting with the last name of the person. Try entering as much of the name as you can to help narrow down the search results. Third, if a red squiggle appears under a name, right-click to show a list of some names that match, or use the Check Names feature and choose from the list. Another more basic way to address is to use the address book window. This concept is not as fast, but may prove necessary if you just don't know enough of a user's name to quickly identify the address as we've seen previously. Simply click the To button and use the address book window to locate the desired name. Type the name in that you're looking for. When you finish typing, Outlook will display the results of the search. And if you need to switch to a different book, use the drop-down list to choose from the different books. The final feature regarding addressing is known as autocomplete. From the first email you compose in Outlook, every address you enter into a message window will automatically be added to a list that is stored on the Exchange server for your mail account. For example, notice what happens this time when I type in the name Smith. As soon as I type the first letter of the name S in this case, a list pops up offering every address beginning with S that I've ever sent an email to. In this case, only one entry appears, but over time this list will grow. If the name that appears is the correct name, simply press Enter to insert it into the address field. If multiple names appear, simply select the desired name and press Enter. The autocomplete feature stores up to 1,000 names and then cycles out less frequently used names. To make this list usable from the very beginning, follow these steps. From a new message window, click the To button. Using the global address list and your contacts list, select every email address that you anticipate mailing frequently and add it to the To text box. Continue to add as many names as you wish, up to 1,000. When you've got all the names, click OK to return those names back to the email message. You are finished. You don't even need to send the message. To test, clear out all of the names from the To box and try typing a letter or two. Notice how a list appears with names that contain the letter. Highlight the name you're interested in and press Enter. Return it to the To box. You may find that you want to remove an address from the autocomplete list. When the name appears in the drop-down list, notice there's an X button at the right-hand side of the drop-down. Simply click on that to delete that name from the list. If you need to remove all of the names from this list, perform the following steps. Go to File, Options, choose Mail, scroll down to the Send Messages section. Notice this last option deals with autocomplete. Click the Empty Autocomplete List button. Now all the entries are cleared from the list. Please feel free to take a look at the other Outlook videos, and if you run into any problems or have further questions, please contact the Help Desk at extension 2111.